Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to Prophetic PopUp Insight Live. I'm Apostle Joseph Devlin, and I want to say good morning to all of you this morning. I came today to share a word of practical insight and prophetic inspiration with you this morning. As I was getting dressed to go and take care of some personal things this morning, I heard the Lord speaking to my spirit that I've given my people strategies from every storm. Every storm of life that we face, God has given us strategies. And the strategy is every storm shows you a different side, a different side of God. Every single strategy shows you a different side of who God is, shows you a different side of how God operates. Every strategy. There's no strategy. There's no storm that doesn't produce a strategy. Every storm produces a strategy. You know, in the Gospel of Matthew, the 14th chapter, right after John the Baptist is beheaded, in the 22nd verse of Matthew 14, it records a story. And the story is that Jesus has instructed his followers, his disciples, to get out and to go to the other side of, to go before him to the other side and to meet him in a different spot than the spot that they were originally in. And so while they are going to, while they're walking and they're obeying the instructions of Jesus, they find themselves in the middle of a storm. And the Bible begins to say that they are in fear in the fourth watch of the night. Okay, so in other words, it's really late. It's kind of late, but kind of early in the morning still. And if you've ever woken up in the fourth watch of the night, if you've ever woken up between the hours of six, between the hours of 3 a.m. and 6 a.m., then you understand what it's like. When you first wake up, there's that fog over your mind. There's that fog over your perception. And can you imagine the disciples being in the fourth watch of the night? And Jesus goes to them during this time. And surely they're exhausted, surely they're tired, surely their cognitive reasoning is not all the way there. And how do we know that they're in a time when their reasoning is not there? Because the Bible says when they see him, they cry for fear, they cry for terror, believing that it is a ghost. When you're in an inopportune time, it keeps you from seeing, it keeps you from understanding things the right way. It keeps you from understanding what's going on around you the right way. So here it is that the disciples they have been beckoned by Jesus. They've been instructed by Jesus to go, to get into a boat and go to the other side and wait for him there. But as they are waiting for him there, they are thrust out into the middle of a storm. And isn't it amazing that the God of the universe, wrapped in flesh, sends the disciples out, watch this, on a calm sea, knowing that there is going to be a storm. Understanding, because he has all knowledge as the pre-incarnate Christ, understanding that, hey, there's about to be a storm. But this storm was designed to give the disciples a strategy. And the strategy was that it was going to allow them, watch this, to see God in a different way, to experience God in a different way. Every storm, beloved, is an invitation to receive a key of strength. Every storm is an invitation to receive a new level of insight. Every storm is a stepping stone for your growth and development. And here it is that because of this very storm, Peter learns how to walk in another dimension of faith. And now what should keep Peter, what would normally keep you in a boat, is the very thing that caused Peter out of the boat. The circumstances around Peter is the very thing that calls him out. The thing that draws, the thing that would normally keep you trapped in fear, the thing that would normally keep you trapped in terror, is the very thing that God uses to call them out on to the water, and to walk into a new experience with him, to walk into a new way with him. So, beloved, what I want to challenge you with today is that understand this, that every one of your storms produces strategy. Every one of your storms uncover a key that will unlock a door in your life later. You may not need the strategy now, but God will always prepare you for what's next. Because of what the disciples experienced with Jesus, it prepared them for their ministries later. Every situation that they went through prepared them for their next. Every situation that they went through prepared them for their later. Beloved, remember this. God is preparing you for your next. God is preparing you for what is next. It may not look good, it may not feel good, but God is preparing you. And the storm may be real bad, but remember this: it was the same Jesus that fed the 5,000 that came walking to them on the water. It was the same Jesus that healed all manner of sickness that was with them in the storm. And in another account, the Bible says, and they went down into the bottom of the boat, and Jesus was there asleep while the storm was raging. So Jesus gave them another strategy, that a storm can be going on around you and you can remain at peace. Because the real thing is, the storms come to give you an experience with God and to give God an experience with you. You know, so many times in our walk with God, we preach about having an experience with God. But what about God having an experience with you? What about God having an experience with you? What about God having a fellowship with you. So today, beloved, remember this. Every storm produces a different experience with God. Every storm highlights a different part of God that you would not otherwise have been able to see, that you would not otherwise have been able to know. The very thing that you don't like, the very thing that makes you uncomfortable, is the very thing that God is using to develop you, to strengthen you, to sharpen you, to make you aware of his strength that lives within you, to make you understand all that dwells within you. You would never know what was in you if you never needed it. You would never know the power of the strength of God if you never had moments of weakness. You would never know God as a healer if you never had the experience of being sick. And that's why Paul could name in Romans 8, he could name all these different experiences that he had had. But what was Paul's conclusion in verse 37? He said, and we know that nay, in all these things, or in spite of all these things, we are more than conquerors. Paul said that because of those experiences. He said that because of the experience, what the experiences had taught him. He said that because of what the revelation had, the revelations that he had received by virtue of his experience. Paul could then later say to the Philippian church, I know what it is I know what it is to be abased, and I know what it is to abound. I know what it is to be hungry, and I know what it is to be full. Paul could now say, he said, I know. But how did he learn? He learned it through his experiences. His experiences gave him an invitation. So this morning, beloved, I'm telling you, I'm inviting you this morning to understand this one thing, that God has designed every storm to give you a strategy. There's nothing that you go through that God isn't going to use to teach you, to develop you, to strengthen you, to stretch you. It's all for your advancement. It may seem like it's there to knock you down, but it's really there to help you stand up. It's really there to help you stand up. Even the mistakes that you've made, they may have had consequences, but in those consequences, you'll still be able to trace the mercy, the grace, the love, the power of God. Nothing that we go through doesn't serve as an invitation to give us a strategy. Even if we have fallen down, if God has allowed us to fall down, he's trying to reveal to us the strategy of getting up. He's trying to reveal to us the strategy of pulling on him. Micah chapter 7, verse number 8 says, rejoice not against me, O mine enemy, for when I fall, I shall arise. Though I sit in darkness, I shall arise in light. You may be in a time of darkness right now, but darkness is an indication that there shall be light. Darkness is an indication that it won't stay that way always. Just think about it. Just think about it. Just stop and think about it. You go through 12 hours of light and 12 hours of, you go through 12 hours of light, and I think it is 12 hours of darkness to give you the 24 hours in a day. But here you are, beloved. And even the natural way of time shows you that darkness is not forever. But just imagine if it remained dark all the time and you never saw light. But God has positioned even the natural creation to reveal to you that nothing stays the same. Nothing remains the same. So you may be in a storm now, but it's got to stop raining. You may be in a tight spot now, but it has to get better. And better doesn't always mean that our circumstances change immediately. But the way we look at our circumstances can change immediately. We can decide to see what we're going through the eyes of faith. We can decide to see our storm as an opportunity to step out on the water of faith. We can decide to see our circumstances. Good morning to all of you who are joining. We can decide to see our circumstances as an opportunity, watch this, to have an experience with God and to give God an experience. We can decide to see the ridicule, the hurt, the abandonment, the shame, all of that, everything that has happened to us, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. It's all there to give you strategies from God that will strengthen you. Why do you think Paul could declare, I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me? It would stand to reason that I'm sure that Paul, like you and me, he had some moments when he was like, God, I don't know if I could do this. God, I don't know if I could take this. God, I don't know if I'm able to do this. And you know what? Here's the thing. Paul was getting ready to be thrown in prison in the book of Acts. And they came to Paul. They said, don't you know that if you go, they're going to kill you. And Paul said, I know, but I am bound by the Spirit. Paul said, I know they're going to kill me. I know they're about to murder me. I know they're seeking for my. He said, but I'm bound by the Spirit. The storm that Paul was in did not distract from his purpose. The storm that Paul was facing did not distract him from his destiny. Beloved, do not let what you are facing distract you. There is so much more, beloved. There is so much more. And your trials, your tests, your adversities, they are gifts from God to give you an experience that you never had before. Not to give you an experience with you alone, but to give you an experience with God. David said, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Have you ever wondered what made David say the Lord is a shepherd? Because there was times when he didn't feel like he had one. But he had a revelation one day that the Lord is my shepherd. And because he's my shepherd, I don't have to be in want. And I know he will provide for me. I know he will take care of me. David understood that even though he was in a trial, even though he was walking through the dark, the dark valleys of death, even though he was in, and guess what? David felt like he was walking through the valley and the shadow of death. But David said, but I will fear no evil because I know that you are with me. And I know that your rod and your staff, they do comfort me. They do guide me. They do give me direction. They do give me light. Why? Because David had been in darkness, but he had seen the light. That's why he could write in Psalms 27, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Beloved, these Psalms of David and the other writers were born out of times of adversity, but they had an experience with God. So, beloved, this morning, remember this. In every storm, God gives a strategy. And every strategy is a key of strength. Be blessed on today as you go throughout your day. And remember this, whatever you are facing, it is designed to make you, to strengthen you, and to help you stand. Have a God-blessed day. We'll see you real soon. Thank you so much for joining us. May the blessings of the Lord be upon you in the name of the Lord.